To be a good change manager, what you have to be good at is understanding people. And to start with, to understand yourself. Before I start any presentation on change management, any workshop, I always tell the class, you know everything you need to know about change management already. You can tell me why a particular change failed, and you can tell me why a particular change succeeded. To be a good change manager, you have to recognize when you're doing the wrong stuff and recognize when you're doing the right stuff. Do less of that, more of the other stuff, and you'll be okay. Where we get confused is we try and create shortcuts. It's so much easier just to tell someone to do something different. It takes so much longer to get them to understand that it's necessary and to get them involved. That takes time. And we're always rush, rush, rush. The only problem is when you try and rush change, it doesn't work. One of the biggest ways, the best ways to get people to change is to have it become their idea. If a child decides that they want to learn how to ride a bicycle, they'll get a bicycle, they'll get up, they'll fall down, they'll get back up, they'll fall down, they'll get back. It doesn't stop them. But if I take a child down to a schoolyard who doesn't want to ride a bicycle, it's not their idea, and I put them up on the bike and they fall down, their first response is going to be, I told you this wouldn't work. Same idea, same mistake. Both children are falling down. One gets right back up, the other one says, no, no more. Because for one child it was their idea, and the other child it was your idea. The number one question we have to answer when trying to bring change about is why. Why are you doing this? Like, why now? Why are you trying to do something different now when we've done it a particular way for the last 10, 20 years? Help me understand the reason for the change. It doesn't matter whether I'm asking you to move from one side of the room to another, sit in a different seat, or whether I'm asking you to use a brand new accounting system. The question is always going to be the same. Why are we doing it differently? What's the reason? And until we answer that question, no change will take place. One of the reasons that change fails is that we tell people what to do. We have this belief that people resist change. No, they don't. We get married, we have kids, we move countries, we learn new languages, we learn musical instruments. We do all this change on a constant basis. But if I tell you tomorrow, I want you to start wearing a yellow shirt with a pink tie, you're going to go, I don't want to do that. You'll get married, which is a big change, but you won't wear a new tie? Well, the reason you won't wear the new tie is it wasn't your idea. Give me an example. Creativity is doing things differently. Change is doing things differently. Creativity is when I decide to do things differently. Change is when you decide, for me, that I should do something differently. Creativity is good. Change is not so good, in people's perspective. If we don't do change management and if we don't do it right, all the work that we create, all the projects that we deliver will never be used. In business, there are tens of thousands of examples of where people build good products, but they never get used. And no matter how good the product is, if it doesn't get used, it's a failure. Most people do not have an intimate awareness of the effect that they have on other people when they try to do something new. You see this all the time with politicians who try to bring a change about. They have good ideas, don't get me wrong, but they don't take into account how people will respond to their ideas. An example of resistance to change that we ignore all the time is something we call NIMBY, N-I-M-B-Y, not in my backyard. In other words, we want nuclear power, some of us, but we don't want it next door. We want good waste disposal, but not next to my building. We want to have good hospitals, not too close, not too far. In other words, there's always a what's in it for me and how am I affected question that quite often we ignore. And when we ignore it, we create resistance to our ideas. Change management is actually rather simple. You're not actually managing change. What you're managing is how people react to change, how we respond to what goes on around us. Again, whether it's a new manager, learning a new language, learning how to play a musical instrument, gaining weight, trying to quit smoking, all of these are change management issues. How do you manage the psychology of the person that is undergoing the transition? Change is when you go from one state to another state. If you go from an organization that is using an accounting system that they've used for many years, and you want to go to a new accounting system, that's change. When you relocate from one building to another, that's change. When a new manager takes over a department, that's change. Anything that changes the way you've done things in the past is a good candidate for a body of knowledge called change management. I'm a speaker. My job is to communicate ideas to audiences, lots of people at the same time, in a way that is memorable, that they can remember 6 months down the line, not just for the hour that I speak. No. I wish there were. Look, here's the reality. People need to understand why a change is necessary. That takes time to communicate. The alternative is just to tell people, shut up and do what I said. We don't respond very well to that. So on one hand, you have a process that takes longer, but has a higher chance of succeeding. And on the other hand, you have something that works very, very quickly, but never succeeds. Which one do you want to choose?